outside? Should I run and hide? How do I take my company worldwide? Do you love the law? Did you watch Hee-Haw? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw? What's it like in court? Favorite sport? Can you help with my book report? Is my hair too long? Am I right or wrong? And do you mind if I sing along to anything? Ask Alan anything in the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Ask Alan. I'm Alan Crone, the CEO of the Crone Law Firm. And with me today, ought to be a lot of fun, is Kevin Cerrito, who is the founder and CEO of Cerrito Trivia. A very interesting, for you entrepreneurs out there, very interesting business, and a business that I suspect is a lot of fun, but at the end of the day, it's all business, right? I mean, no matter how fun your business is, it's, you know, being in business is still a lot of hard work. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot different than it is now than it was pre-pandemic. And it doesn't, when you're on your own business, there's a lot of stuff people, it's very exciting, but you still have to make schedules and send out invoices and do all of that at the end of the day. So there's the business stuff as well.
Well, tell us a little bit about what your business is and kind of the framework, maybe pre-pandemic, and then how have you had to pivot? There's a great business, 2021 business word. How did you pivot during the
pivot? Yes, that's
during the pandemic.
Yeah, people say I've pivoted well here. So pre-pandemic, I was hosting trivia and bingo all over Memphis, and people were hosting for me as well. But so it was a trivia, bars would traditionally have karaoke and a night or a band perform, and so bars would hire me, my company, to have somebody come out and host trivia. And eventually we evolved into doing bingo as well, which grows a very similar crowd, but also brings in a lot of other new people, and it definitely all still kind of goes for that 18 to 49-year-old person who wants to get out, who can get out during the week, right, and have some fun, but appeals to families, old people, all that. So we were doing that before the pandemic, and of course we're right now at a year. This is the week that the year hit. It was March 13th was my last live bingo. I think March 12th was my last live trivia. I've since done some versions of it over the past year live on the internet or at the drive-in movies or something. But there's the last time I was inside doing trivia or bingo. And since then, everything's completely different. I mean, everything's totally different. Pandemic news hit. We pulled our events a couple days before we were required to by law. So I think it was like that Sunday we announced we were going to stop. In-depth, we assumed at the time, many people did, it was like 2 weeks, right? Like, we'll just give us, we're going to be out for 2 weeks. Let this thing pass, whatever. How clueless we were a year ago. And so in that meantime, I was like, well, when we announced we were not going to do events for a minute, announced that, I'll do it on Facebook Live. We'll have a trivia on Facebook Live for those of encouraging people to stay home. Like, we're going to play, and I had no clue what I was going to do, how I was going to do it on Facebook Live. I had CJ, who works for me and works for the Grizzlies as well. He's like messaging me like, "Oh, this sounds awesome. How's this?" And I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to play on Facebook a week from Thursday, and we'll see how that works on Facebook Live. So we ended up playing trivia on the internet weekly for like 15 weeks or so. And around that time is when I started going live again. And by that, I mean at the drive-in. So we, in those 15 weeks, partnered with Malco on an event to raise money for Will Rogers Association, which is, they were getting money for the theater workers as well, who are also very much impacted by the pandemic. So we partnered with Malco to do trivia at the drive-in, which was, you have to figure this. There's so much every month of my life. It seems like I'm trying to figure out, how do we do this? Like, get an idea. Can this work? And how does it work in COVID? Does it work only because of COVID? Yada, yada, yada. So we get to the drive-in. You can go to the drive-in, park your car, turn your radio on, listen to me host trivia in your car. And then you would turn in your answers, and then you'd stick around for a movie. Right. So it was great. So we did that from June to November, Thanksgiving weekend. Once it got cold, we stopped doing that. But when that was going on, we changed the trivia every week to Matching in Memphis, was a local version of Match Game. which we started playing with panelists. We had people on like Jeff Calkins and Muck Sticky, a very popular panelist on that show. So we played Matt's game for like 15 or 16 weeks, been trying different game shows. Right now we're playing virtual bingo. We're continuing every Thursday since that March week of doing something on the internet for people to safely play at home to distract them from the life that we're living these days. Is that, I know that answers your question, most of your question, but it's a long answer.
Yeah. So how much you think that virtual stuff is going to stick into the future?
That is, I think it's there's going to be some staying power for sure. There's some great benefits of it, of being able to, because some of it kind of exists or we existed already, right? Like I had just watched the documentary about the last Blockbuster, how everything went to streaming where you don't have to leave your house to get that, right? There is some appeal of not having to leave your house, but then some people miss Blockbuster. Like there's like I miss going and browsing and running into other people who like movies and being the human interaction that you get. So I don't think virtual everything is going to replace it, but I do think there's an advantage. And sometimes it's going to be tough for, like, you look at schools, right? Like, and some schools have already had to make these decisions of snow days, right? So you've got, there's technically we don't need to have snow days anymore. Like if it's a snow day, that just becomes a virtual day, right? It should be, because we've got everybody's trained in it at this point. Like they don't need snow days anymore. But do you need snow days for kids for their development? Or do you factor in, okay, well, we're gonna have X number of virtual days. If the first day will be a snow day, so they can play in the snow and enjoy that. But then after that, we're gonna go back to school and do it online, so you don't have to add days onto the year. So as far as like virtual meetings and virtual games, I think virtual games will last for sure on the internet. That's the stuff that I'm doing in some capacity, but there's definitely people are itching to, especially right now, to get back out and, that live human interaction, there is no replacement for, but with my virtual events, I try to make them where I always say, like, I want people to forget just for a second, just like for 1 minute, a couple seconds that we're on a screen doing this. Just for, I know we're all on screens. We're all on screens all day, all the time now, but just for a second, just forget. I just want you to be interacting socially with people and having fun, where you don't think that, okay, well, we're doing it on Zoom.
Sure.
Or whatever platform. So
sure. I agree with you. I think that lots of businesses that are having to make these adjustments, restaurants and bars, one of them, I think they'll be looking for ways to have virtual components into the future. But I think we've all kind of learned just how much we, as human beings, how much we're a communal species, if you will, that being together is really, really important to us. So it's going to be interesting to see, because the favorite thing is when we get back to normal, whatever that is. Right. I've been saying from the beginning, we're not going back to 2019. We may be going forward without restrictions, but it's going to be a society. This year is going to reverberate, I think, for a long time.
Yeah, I'm not sure when that moment was, but there was for a little bit. Everybody was kind of thinking back to normal. It kind of felt like there was going to be a switch, right? The pandemic's over, and I don't know why we thought that for a minute, but we did, and it's an obvious gradual thing that's going to happen to get back to the new normal. And there's a new normal every week. We're currently in the people are half vaccinated normal, and there's going to be what's going to be when everybody's vaccinated who wants to be vaccinated, but then the other people aren't vaccinated. So there's so many different new normals that are going to be popping up just this year alone, right? Like this is what the current status is. And I've got to adapt my business. That's the hardest part. It's like every month it's something new. I just went through, like, it's too cold to do anything live, to now, okay, we can start doing things. People are interested in doing stuff in person again, and you can do those safely, but still most people are not fully vaccinated. And so this got to adapt that way. And then eventually, in about, as they're saying, by the end of May, by 4th of July, everybody who wants the vaccine is going to have both doses and all that. So that's going to be a whole nother, like, well, what do I do for my business? So the pandemic, you have to think about I had never had to really think about the weather. It was like, if the weather was the roads were icy. If schools were closed because roads were icy, maybe that's when I would not do something. And now it was like, well, because it's too cold. It's too cold to do trivia. Like that was unheard of. That's not a thing. But I couldn't do anything live if I wanted to for the past 3 months. And now I'm getting back out there, but still doing a lot of virtual stuff. I mean, because I do virtual events for companies and charities and all schools, all types of stuff. And so right now, like on my schedule, I'm mapping it out yesterday, and I've got like six or seven things coming up in the next month that are special events, and 2 or 3 of them are in person. They want to do in person. We're doing in person outside, but of course I couldn't do those, 2 weeks ago when our pipes were all frozen.
Right. Yeah. What's the old saying? If you don't like the weather in Memphis, just wait, it'll change.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. So
Sure, yeah.
Trivia, how did an articulate, erudite gentleman like yourself, how'd you get into that business?
Great question. So I played trivia a little bit at the P&H, where great smart folks running trivia at P&H is really where I was first introduced to it, outside of occasionally being at a restaurant that would have some corporate trivia or something. And so I was a regular player. I had a friend whose dad like acquired the Poplar Lounge, which is an old bar on Poplar Avenue.
Right.
And so a friend from high school with me, and I graduated in 2000. So and this was over 10 years ago. So we were, I was even younger then, and they were trying to figure out a way to do, attract a different clientele to that establishment. And I was like, well, I could do trivia. I could do trivia there. I love trivia. I like hosting things. I've hosted stuff before. And so I started doing trivia there and didn't make any money, but I was having fun, and I did it for a little bit while I was working other part-time jobs, and then eventually stopped doing it because I was making they were paying me a very, very little amount, but I just had other stuff going on. It just didn't make sense. And then eventually, though, somebody who had played there and had fun recommended me to another restaurant, and that restaurant was in the Pinch District downtown, Ferraro's, and I started doing trivia there, and it really started catching on with a bunch of like the UT students in the UT Medical District were coming out. Somebody who played there eventually recommended me to another restaurant downtown. And so it really was a lot of that word of mouth, ball rolling type of thing, that all of a sudden I reached a point where it was, okay, this place wants me to do it, and they want me to do it on Thursday night, but I'm already hosting over here. I can't be at 2 places at one time, but I could do trivia at 2 different places because the following is big enough. And so eventually I started bringing on some folks to host for me as well. And right before the pandemic, we were at like between 11 and 12, maybe 13 events, because I was about to add on 2 more. We're like on the schedule for the spring. Like, here comes, we're gonna do something on Fridays. We were gonna do something at Old Dominic we were adding on. So, and then pandemic hit. So I went from that many to none. Yeah. All
right. How do you put together a really good trivia set? I imagine you just don't go to I'm going to date myself, to the encyclopedia and, just start asking questions. How do you put together a set that is entertaining?
Well, it would depend. I mean, some of the stuff I'm doing is theme trivia, and I'm at this point, I'm like always thinking about trivia, or at least I was at one point. It was hard to turn that off in my brain. I'm watching a movie, I'm watching a TV show, I'm thinking, oh, this makes sense for a trivia question. This makes sense for a trivia round. And I'm constantly thinking of ways, because I want it to be fun. When you're doing trivia, like you want to go out, you want to have fun. You want to be able to know some answers, right? It's not fun if you don't know any answers. So you got to know some of the answers. You don't want it to be too difficult. And so as far as coming up with the questions, I mean, the internet does help. I am part of an independent trivia group here that we've been for about 5 years or so helping each other out with certain topics that are not our personal strong suits, but also, and these are different groups across the country, and also just helping us out, especially right now during the pandemic. It's been very, very beneficial to be a part of that group of like coming up with like what are new ideas, what are ways that we can survive this and be here on the other end. So some of my stuff comes from that, and just years and years of doing it, sometimes like I just will come up with things on the top of my head. So some of it is natural for me now.
Is it an art or a science? In other words, is it instinctive, intuitive, or is there a formula for this is how you put together, a expert level trivia question and then a moderate level and a, easy one so that you've got a spread in any particular set?
It's probably a little bit of both, because there can be, because I would occasionally do some events and then over the pandemic, and I had people like, hey, we'll do it where you ask a question, you get to ask a question. And so I'll ask them like, what's your question? And they'll just show me here, yada, yada, yada. And it's like this, I was like, well, just add this word or say this. Cause it's definitely, you definitely got to make sure you word things properly to make sure there is that one answer that you're looking for, and that people can't give you a bunch of other answers because you didn't specify this or that. And so it's definitely a little bit of art and science.
Okay. What on a personal level, what's right in your wheelhouse in terms of kind of a theme for trivia? I know you can go and do, a TV show or science or history. What do you think is your favorite, I guess, personal favorite and then business favorite? What works the best for business?
Let's start with, so for business, and this is all pre-pandemic, I do think we're in a totally different world as far as everything that was popular and what was happening before is not necessarily going to be the same now. Friends was big. The TV show Friends, which had this, because of Netflix, everybody watched. And again, they hadn't seen it before. I watched it in its first run. And then I've seen it again, of course, since. The Office, really big. And of course, it's just got off of Netflix as well. And so there's with both of those, it's like, how much did Netflix help those trivia nights? We'll find out because they're both streaming in different platforms now. Right. Harry Potter was big. Harry Potter was, that's the one that really got me going to doing as many themes as I did, because we did Harry Potter trivia one night at Tamp and Tap downtown. And it was on Facebook. I think we had like 1,000 people said they were coming on Facebook. And I was like, wow, that is a lot more than usual. Sometimes we get big numbers in the hundreds or something. So it was a lot. And so I asked my now wife, I was like, you probably need to come and help me out, because 1,000 people sounds like a lot of people. And it ended up, but it was like, it can't be that, it's not gonna be that difficult because there's only 15, 20 tables there, right? So we're not going to have too many teams. This is going to be a busy night. But what I didn't plan for, like that night, people came in, they were so big, diehard fans of Harry Potter, and they wanted to play Harry Potter trivia so bad that they like sat on the floor. And so we had, like, you could not walk around. Hopefully the fire marshal's not watching. Maybe you can represent Tamp and Tap and argue that this was an unusual circumstance of some type. But the people were sitting on the floor. Like, people had to get turned away. There's people dressed up like wizards and muggles and all that walking around downtown Memphis who just couldn't get in. But people were sitting all over the floor in their groups and just to play that trivia. It was pandemonium. And we ended up, because people got turned away, and that's when we started a reservation system where people had to sign up to play in advance, which you're teaching people something new that would be unheard of, right? The idea that you had to sign up to go to a trivia night was like, what, you have to sign up to play this one? Like, I've never had to do that before. I was like, well, yeah, we got to make sure that we've got room for everyone and that everybody has a good time who's here. So those would be the most popular ones for me. Like, some of my favorite ones to do are some of those. Harry Potter, I had, when I started doing it, knew nothing about Harry Potter, but I've since, of course, seen all the movies, visited the theme parks, and I could tell you a lot about it. I understand it. I understand Harry Potter and enjoy it. But pro wrestling was always one of my favorite trivia nights that we would do live. People would come in costume and chant things. The wrestling fans are always exciting. We would kind of format it in different ways and have fun with that. I love The Office. I love The Office. We do Grizzlies trivia on draft night, partner with the Grizzlies and give away prizes. So you'd watch the draft, like watching John Morant get drafted by the Grizzlies. at Rec Room, packed house, playing trivia, like on commercial breaks and stuff. That's fun. So most of them I really enjoy, like, and especially the ones that are like what are like traditions for me, and traditions for people's, like, I get emails and like people's like, these are their holiday traditions, like playing Christmas Vacation. I love Christmas Vacation trivia every year is awesome. And all the holiday movies that we do trivia about in December, which of course we couldn't do it live this year. We did it on Zoom, but I enjoy those as well.
I've never been very good at trivia related to a movie or a show because I don't pay that close of attention. You know, I don't know. I look at the big picture. There are lots of shows that I watch. I couldn't tell you the characters' names, much less what color their shirt was, when such and such happened. But I actually enjoy going and watching trivia nights because people's reactions are so funny. What's the most extreme reaction you've had at a trivia night?
Oh, extreme reaction. Oh, gee. I mean, I don't know. That's the certain fan bases for these shows. We start learning them, and certain people, some people are very diehard, and like every night, like I was doing this every night, 2 or 3 nights a week. So it could be Friends one night and Harry Potter the next, and then The Office the next night. So I'm constantly changing, what I'm thinking about. But like the people who are coming for Harry Potter are coming for Harry Potter, and they're not coming to those other 2 nights. Maybe some of them, there's, some crossover or something, but like they're the diehard Harry Potter fans. So they know more than me about Harry Potter. There's no question about it. But like, I've got the answers to the questions. They may not know the answer to the specific question. So we get some disputes. And sometimes when you get like the disputes of that level of stuff like Harry Potter, where it's like in a whole different language, it can be difficult. But I'm trying to think of like reactions.
The movies and the books.
Yeah, that's the thing with Harry Potter. You've got to do. We started doing nights that are dividing them up. It was a book night or a movie night, so that would really reduce on the amount of things in regard to Harry Potter. But like you're saying, you don't like you, and I agree with you on that. Like you have to. It's got to be something you're really, really passionate about, and you watch a lot. I consume a lot of media, so I wouldn't say I'm an expert at any of them but I can help you out with some answers to stuff. But to be the one who's going to know every answer to every topic, that comes down to those diehard people. But like for the movies, people will watch, like if we did a Christmas Vacation trivia or Home Alone trivia or something, they'll watch it. They're not. You I always recommend, if we do those, if you're going to go to one, watch it the day before, at least the day before, if not a couple times that week before. Have everybody on your team watch it, or to prepare, to refresh yourself. Even no matter how much it's your favorite movie and you've seen it a million times, just rewatch it, because there's going to have to be some tough questions to make sure if everybody has a perfect score, then we can't have a winner. So,
right. And is there a secret to drafting the perfect tiebreaker kind of question that only the experts are going to know?
What I would say, I would used to think there was, but a lot of people, they strategize based on what we would do. So with our tiebreaker questions, a lot of people would study stuff to do with that. Well, we typically do stick to numbers. We were just whatever I think is a hard number usually is what a tiebreaker is going to be. Like something that's just a hard number related to, if it's a topic, which is not all we do, right? So general knowledge is, you ask what my favorite stuff. I prefer general knowledge. I like current events. I think current events is such a, which is, I always have a current event round for general knowledge trivia. I think it's the fairest you can have. Like, we're all living in this time right now. All you got to do is just like look around.
Pay attention. Yeah.
Right. Pay attention to what is happening. And of course, in the past year, it's been tricky trying to do COVID-free current events, which is, not so people aren't thinking about the current events necessarily, but the sad parts of them. But I'd really like current events.
What color is your living room wall? That's a good COVID trivia question.
Right. What color? Right. Exactly.
Well, all right. Well, what is non-intuitive about your business in terms of biggest business challenge that you've had outside the pandemic? Because we all know the the pandemic pivot was the biggest problem. But getting started, what was the biggest business lesson, I guess, that you had to learn?
That's interesting. The biggest business, because really this past year I've just been and that's the one most people ask me about. It's like this past year, because it really has been, and I know I'm not supposed to answer this past year.
Well, if that's the answer, then you give me the answer.
It might be because I've spent 10 years, like it's 10 years plus building this up. And when you have it just kind of go away overnight, you would think at first, I just didn't think it was gone overnight, right? So I guess I was lucky that we were just not sure what this meant, because it's our first pandemic, right?
My first one in 100 years. We're all, right, like you say, we're all on the even playing field there.
And so it took a while for me to eventually realize, like, it's not gonna. At first, I'm like, I'm gonna get, like, we'll try some new things on the internet, but I'll get back to. I'm like, okay, maybe this restaurant may not survive or may not want me back after this or a couple of the places. But I was like, most of these places are all like Memphis institutions. And I'm at Coletta's, I'm at Laughlin Yard. These are places that they will survive this because they have survived since almost the last pandemic. If like Coletta's. But it has just been so tough that it makes me hard to think. Like, there's been nothing as tough as the idea of every single month. Really, I've got to kind of redo how everything is going again. And I'm at the point, like, this is not necessarily, I'm not all of a sudden just redoing what I was doing in November. Like, some stuff, like virtual trivia was great. And then it's, as we talked about, like, there's a need for it, but like, how does it work? Like, it was very popular at first, but then people kind of like, it was the novelty of it wore off a little bit. And so it really, there's been nothing as close to the pandemic. Working from home and owning your own business, and when we're really the only employee, because I have independent contractors that work for me, I would say a challenge, and this is a frustrating part of the pandemic too. A challenge is knowing when you're working and when you're not working. And I think a lot of people have experienced this in this past year when you're at home. Like, what are your hours that I'm on the clock, I'm not on the clock, and my daughter was born about the year before, whatever the year before the pandemic started. Anyway, so I really tried to structure. I had to structure, like, right before the pandemic happened. I structured, these are going to be my 100% off days. These are days where I'm not going to work and I can be able to have great family time. And like, that to me can be a challenge if you are owning your own business and you don't have a bunch of employees. And with my business, because I worked at night, but also had to work in the day to prepare for the night stuff. Like, there's no structure on the hours and structuring that. Man, I was supposed to be all every Sunday and Monday right now, and that's just not how it is.
Right.
But
well, did you ever think to yourself, "Oh, just screw it. If I can't do it the way I was doing it before, I'm not going to do it." I know a lot of people. I say there are two camps. There's the people who kind of took it as a one big snow day and said, right, "I'm going to just shut it down until it's back to normal." And then there are other people who said, well, life hands you lemons, I'm going to make lemonade. And they figured out how to make their business work in the pandemic. Did you ever just think to yourself, it's too hard to try to pivot. I'm just going to wait this thing out?
No, I thought about January, February, like that, like, this is my time to rest if I wanted it, right? We knew the vaccine was coming, and I just had other ideas. I'm planning that we already put together the second virtual Memphis Beer Fest. It just happened last weekend. So I've done 2 beer festivals virtually, which I never did before the pandemic, never thought about doing, but came up with the idea one day. I was like, somebody could really do a virtual beer fest. And I explained to my wife, and she's like, well, you should be that somebody. Like, I was like, oh, well, I guess I could be. And so we ended up figuring that out. Like matching in Memphis, the game show. Like, I've always wanted to be a game show host. I kind of already am a game show host. So at the time we started it, it became so much fun. And I'm right now trying to plan on when is that show going to return as well. But January, February, I thought about it, but then I had one idea, I was getting ready for the beer fest, which just happened. But I had one other idea in my mind. I was like that I was going to regret. I was like, I think I'll regret if I didn't try it. And that was trivia talks. We did these trivia nights where, again, like current events, I like it when it's super fair. And we had speakers like Kelly English and we had Chris Harrington from the Daily Memphian talking about the Grizzlies, and other speakers, Jimmy Ogle, Memphis historian. They would speak. And then afterwards, they would speak virtually. We had a couple speakers, and you'd have your trivia team at home, and you watched, and we had questions about what you just experienced, like what they had just talked about. So like
the verbals of the SAT.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Except it was fun topics. So anyway, I wanted to do that. So I wanted to test that out. I was like, this maybe works better virtually. So I need to do it. So I did that in February. So a lot of it is I can't stop coming up with different things that I want to try while I have the opportunity. Because before it was, if you're doing all these events in a week, you get stuck in, and you get not in necessarily a rut, but you get stuck in constantly having to do and produce more and more trivia questions, more and more events. If somebody calls you, you need to do it because you don't know when it's going to end. You don't think it's going to end because of a pandemic, but now you might. Now I'm going to have to have my pandemic plan in mind. But right now, still, like I pivoted, and it looks like I have done a great job pivoting. You know, you've said that. They said it in the paper. And I have adapted it, but the one thing that hasn't adapted is the money. I'm not making anywhere close to what I made before, and this is not at all a replacement. So I'm at this crossroads of it gets difficult. My wife had to go back to work, and so I'm stay-at-home dad a couple days a week now. Some weeks 4 days, some weeks 2 days, some weeks 3 days. It depends. Spring break this week, so. And so that is, I still think a lot of, and I think people need to keep that in mind as they're watching these people pivot and do different things. It's not at all, from what I can tell, like the restaurants that have pivoted to doing, their takeout systems are better, or you can go eat in a bubble in front of beauty shop. But like, because they've come up with these great ideas, they're just really the survival ideas. We're just surviving till we can do what we did before and still kind of stay relevant. But with me, I'm trying to stay relevant, but also I do think it's an obligation to try to distract people. Somebody's got to distract. I want to distract people in Memphis. I want to entertain them. And we've had great sponsors who have helped me at least make some money through this time, that believe in what we're doing at the drive-in and what we're doing online. And some things like matching in Memphis, like if I came up with it, like matching Memphis is not ever going to happen if I don't do it, just because of my position as the trivia host, because of my connections with the media. Like there's nobody else who can do some of these things. So I got to do it, or nobody else will never see anything like it. So.
Right. Well, I take it from your previous comment about the Popular Lounge and a high school, the father of a high school buddy of yours. So you grew up in Memphis?
Yes, I graduated from Houston.
Oh, okay.
So Germantown, yeah.
And is your corporate footprint just in Memphis, or have you branched out to other places?
It's Memphis and northern Mississippi for traditional, like in location restaurants. And that's a challenge too. Like, at some point before COVID, you're thinking about, do I expand, and like, what's the plan for that? My degree's in communication. So most of, what I am learning in business is like, on the fly, I'm learning it as I go along. And anyway, I've lost train of thought, but yes, I'm only here, but the pandemic has made it where like that is one of the cool things about it's, about doing these things online. I'm hosting virtual bingo every Thursday right now on Twitch, which is something I never used before. I've set up a newsletter, which I did not have before, which sends out trivia questions to people's inboxes. I've got a Patreon where people can support me directly and it's kind of like becoming a member of the club, and they get benefits and perks that way. So we have one tonight, our patron happy hour. So there's lots of new things I've started during the pandemic that are going to be helpful as things move forward. but then they've also expanded my base a little bit. I've had people who were playing trivia every week and play bingo every week from Alabama, from Massachusetts. People have played from Australia in one. Like the global reach of the online is fascinating, and so you do get new fans that way. But at the end of the day, they're not coming to my live events, so but they do. I do need their support right now. So
Sure. No, that's, it marrying up the virtual and the in person, I think that's going to determine the winners and losers going forward. And I think you're right. I mean, the challenge for a lot of business people during this has been, okay, how do I stay relevant? How do I keep my brand out there so that when the restrictions lift, I'm still standing. Maybe not the last person standing, but I haven't, my brand is strong. I'm top of mind, and I'm the first phone call somebody makes, whether it's a bar, a restaurant, a lawyer, a doctor, or an entertainer.
And what the problem with my business plan before, as far as how it is in 2021, is that it really does rely on restaurants, and restaurants they're struggling the most. And like the virtual Memphis Beer Fest that I did, the trivia talks that I did, any of these ticketed events that I was having, we were raising money for the restaurant workers, because I do believe they're still they're struggling the most. They should be higher on the COVID shot list, and I don't even know if they're on the Shelby County list, because technically that's where I would classify. And it's they need help, and I need them to do well for me to actually, they need to want to be able to hire me. So that's also concerning going forward. Like, how much do I need to rely on advertisers and supporters of these great local businesses that step up and believe in the idea that entertainment is important, especially during a pandemic.
Right. Well, the show is Ask Alan. So
it is.
We want to give the people what they want. So what I think the people want is for you to ask me a question and for me to be absolutely flummoxed by it. So take your best shot from a trivia perspective if you've got a question for Crone.
All right. Well, what are my favorite questions? I like to go to is, tell me the first U.S. president who was born in a hospital.
Woodrow Wilson.
No, he's a good answer to another one. I believe he's the answer to who's the only U.S. president buried in Washington, D.C. But the first one born in a hospital was Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was the first U.S. president born in a hospital.
I knew that the answer was later than you would think, but I didn't realize it was all the way up to Jimmy Carter. That's interesting. He's also the oldest, the longest living president, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh yeah. By
a bunch.
Now
there's a guy.
He's hanging in there.
You really got to wonder what the oil painting in his attic looks like, because all these terrible things, cancer, he fell down, and he's still building houses out there, man. He's getting up and he's swinging a hammer.
Yeah, but he did. Yeah. He missed the inauguration, so I hope he's doing all right.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he missed the inauguration for health reasons.
No.
But well, I guess this inauguration he probably did.
Yeah. This past one, I think, it was definitely COVID. It was probably COVID concerns. Like, he survived all the other stuff. He doesn't want to deal with COVID-19. Right. So I think that's what it is. Yeah.
All right. So what else you got?
Well, I was going to, because I figured from listening to your show that you're a Seinfeld fan. So I was going to.
I am a Seinfeld fan.
It's SMI. So I was going to ask you a good Seinfeld question. What was Kramer's coffee table book about?
Coffee tables.
Yeah, of course.
Very nice of you.
I gave you one, so you got one correct there.
Okay, I got 1 and 1.
Yeah, 1 and 1. Let's see. Do we have current events? Is my favorite.
All right.
We'll get to that in a second. So there are 2 U.S. state capitals that rhyme. So the state capitals. So if you took if it was Nashville and Starkville, or whatever. I guess that would rhyme. If Starkville was a capital.
Montpelier and Austin.
We have Boston and Austin is what I was looking for. That's a little trickier question how I asked that one. That's one I need to work on how it's asked. But like Boston and Austin rhyme. What long running TV series would you find a character named Patrick Star?
Oh, is that SpongeBob SquarePants?
It is SpongeBob. I love this. You're saying you don't do good at pop culture. Those are the ones you're getting here. SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah, that just shows you my intellectual level right there. It's SpongeBob.
It's St. Patrick's Day. Let me see if I have a green question or something here as we're recording this. I know we're not live.
So I wore my green tie just so that I wouldn't get attacked.
Tonight with my patrons, we're having some St. Patrick's Day themed trivia. Let's see. The Shamrock Shake is a seasonal mint-flavored milkshake sold during March to celebrate St. Patrick's Day at which fast food restaurant? The
McDonald's?
Shamrock Shake is at McDonald's. I have never had this. I don't know.
There are lots of things at McDonald's I've never had, and that would be one of them. Yes.
There's not many for me, I don't think. I guess the newer stuff. I've had all the classics. I've followed the classics. The newest thing probably is the McGriddle, and it's good. So I don't know why I'm avoiding the new stuff.
No, I haven't had a McGriddle. That does sound good.
You need to get a McGriddle if you've never had a McGriddle. Oh my goodness, it's a game changer.
I'm a big Egg McMuffin fan.
Egg McMuffin is.
I'm old school in just about everything I do, and
I enjoy that. Here we go. Let's see. Current events somewhat. What superhero movie star was named People Magazine's sexiest man alive for 2020? So he must look good in a mask if he was the sexiest man alive for 2020.
Well, and he's a superhero, so he probably wears a mask.
Right. True. Yeah. It says exactly.
I'm going to go with Chris Hemsley.
No, this guy, he was in a Super Bowl commercial too in the second half. Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger. And do you watch the superhero movies? Do you watch?
I do. But I don't know.
He's in Fantastic Four. He's Killmonger in Black Panther. He's what's that movie? Creed, the Apollo Creed movie, which I have not seen. Which is good apparently. I need to catch up on that. So if you want more, I can find some more.
Well, give me one more.
One more. Do you have a certain topic you want to try to get into here?
I would not want to be accused of hubris by calling my shot and asking for a certain topic.
Okay. We'll go a little St. Patrick's Day themed here with saints here. What Florida city named for a saint is the oldest permanent European settlement in North America?
St. Augustine or St. Augustine in Florida parlance.
That is correct. Yes. Look at that. You know your trivia. That's good. Let's see. Current events. Well, that was your last one, technically, but
yeah.
Who walked off the set of Good Morning Britain in the past week?
Ooh, walked off the set of Good Morning Britain.
Happened in the past week or so, I would say.
Was it? I have no idea. I want to guess. The fellow that used to is it a male person?
Yes. Yeah. He used to do something important. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they all used to do something.
No. Yeah. It was he replaced a very, very important person in the United States, but now he's back over there.
Yeah. I can see his face. Was he on? Replaced Simon Crowell on.
He was also over there. He also replaced Larry King. So he's the guy who replaced Larry King originally on CNN. And yes, he was on those. He was on some panel. It could have been X Factor. It could have been any one of those talent shows. But Pierce Morgan.
Yeah. That's what I couldn't come up with his name, but that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Pierce Morgan.
Well, let me see. Maybe I come up with a trivia question for you. That's what I should have done. I should have had like 3 trivia questions to stump you. All right, going to Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. All right. Yeah. Good.
All right, Seinfeld. What is the name of George Costanza's imaginary horse?
Ooh. I can't remember. What is it?
Prickly Pete.
Prickly Pete. What is George Costanza's ATM password?
Bosco.
Yep. There you go. That's correct. That's like you can tie that one in local with of course the brew pub there in Overton Square.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I've made that a local question before.
All right. Well, very good. What's not going to be good for business? That's a Seinfeld question.
There's lots of stuff that's not good for business. In Seinfeld, isn't there? That's not good for business. Are we talking about what are we talking?
That's not going to be good for business.
The roaster, the Kenny Rogers roaster. Was that?
The line is, that's not going to be good for business. And then Seinfeld said, that's not going to be good for anybody. It's the,
is that the Kenny Rogers roasters?
Kenny Rogers roaster shutting down. Yeah.
Like when the feathers or whatever go everywhere.
Right.
Thanks to Newman.
Big
I know my Seinfeld. That's one that's fun too. That's the one trivia night that the mayor has won. So the mayor came out one night to play trivia, Mayor Strickland, and his team won Seinfeld trivia. So
I believe that he is a big Seinfeld fan and watcher.
And he brought a good team. Carol Veazey, who of course formerly from his office, was there. And
Veazey's an encyclopedia on a lot of things,
especially Seinfeld too. So
yeah,
it's his show. So that's what I'm saying. When it's your show, you have a shot. I think you could carry a Seinfeld team. You got a shot. If you know Bosco immediately, you know some Seinfeld.
Yeah, I know a little bit of Seinfeld,
which could get its second big run because it's coming to Netflix. So that's something as far as I'm looking forward to, but it'll be on Netflix later this year, maybe. And, it's filling that gap with those people who just turn on Netflix and turn on a show. Like, will people revisit Seinfeld and will they like it? Or will they think it's, not appropriate with 2021 world that we live in? We'll find out. But
yeah, it'll be interesting. Although, Seinfeld is kind of like I Love Lucy. It's pretty timeless. You can go back and watch an I Love Lucy episode and the themes and, it's not too dated, even though it's all 50 years old. And I think Seinfeld is that way too, because the comedy is about people and people really don't change all that much.
Right. It's situations. I mean, some things may be a little different, like your speed dial is different or something, or with any older show now, it's like, how would it be different if there were cell phones? But most of it, it still holds up. I'm doing rewatch Seinfeld with my wife right now. So that's our go-to when we don't have anything else to watch show right now.
Well, Kevin, I really have enjoyed it. It's been a fun episode for me. And I'm looking forward when restrictions get lifted. I noticed today, again, not to date the show, but I noticed that the health department has issued new relaxed guidelines for restaurants. I haven't had a chance to read that, but I'm going to read that when we get off the air.
So
maybe you'll be back in live events before you know it. I agree. I think by the end of May, there'll be enough people vaccinated and the transmission rate will be low enough. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that most of the restrictions will be gone by then and most people will feel comfortable getting out. But it's going to be a while before people break the habit of staying home that they've developed.
And that's what I talked to some restaurants about. Like when we come back, even if you think it's safe inside, a lot of people are not gonna, we've got to be outside at the beginning. We've got to be outside. And the restrictions, I even thought about it. So I started talking to restaurants this week, but and that the restrictions, we're limiting it to 4 adults at a table. And so you can't have a trivia night with 4 adults at a table. People, you're going to limit your trivia teams to 4. You could, but they want to make money too. And so it's these restrictions are important to be lifted to move forward for me and for other events.
All right. Well, very good. Again, Kevin, thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for listening and watching the show. And if you enjoyed this, let's not kid ourselves, it was an awesome show. It was an unbelievable show. You loved it. Please share it on social media. Please email it around. Let people know about it. again, I'm Alan Crone. Thank you for watching Ask Alan. I'm going to go and get some justice, and my friend Kevin is going to go and entertain some people. So thank you all very much.